Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Review. Back to talk The Mandalorian, Season 2. It's been a year-ish, more, I don't know. COVID land, thing has gotten kind of crazy, so I don't even remember when the last time we were talking about this was. But, as you can see, this is not me in the chair. That's right, this is just the disembodied voice of Rob on the channel Smirking Gun Reviews. In my place for these reviews, I managed to talk a new visitor to this planet into doing these reviews for me. He's my guest in my home, but I don't want to talk about his life. He can say it better for himself. And so I'm going to pass the mic over to my man, Boba Fett, who will be talking to you guys about The Mandalorian for the duration. I'll let him explain his story and why he's here and why he's being so gracious and hasn't blasted me into smithereens and just run amok. So, take it away, Boba.
That's right, it's me, Boba Fett, the Fett-Man, the guy that you all love, who's only got about 5 minutes of screen time in the entire original trilogy. What's that about? But first, just want to say thanks to Rob for giving me the opportunity to speak about this show, seeing as how I'm the only one in your galaxy truly qualified to speak about the real goings-on in my galaxy. Oh, and just to let you know, it wasn't really that long ago, or that far away. We've just cloaked our galaxy from yours. Well, because, have you looked at yourselves lately? I kid, but in all seriousness, let me explain a few. First, how did I end up here? Well, to talk about that, we have to go back, way back, to that fateful day when a plucky bounty hunter found himself in the stomach of a Sarlacc. You people call this tragedy in my life the first half hour of a mockumentary called Return of the Jedi. I call it the moment I took a good look in the mirror and said, what the heck am I doing with my life? You see, nothing that day went according to plan. Definitely didn't go to Jabba's plan, as we all know. Some of these things you guys have seen are accurate. Other things are completely fabricated by George Lucas and the people at 20th Century Fox and now Disney. But I'm not here right now yet to complain about all the historical inaccuracies of events that happened. I'm here to talk about what actually happened in my life at this moment that brought me here to this little backwater planet called Earth. Now, a little backstory, if you guys haven't heard of something called, that you call, again, this mockumentary series called the prequels of Star Wars, where you guys hear the story of Anakin Skywalker. Wait till I tell you about that thing. But if you know your history from your movies, you know that my dad was a guy named Jango Fett, and I'm actually his clone. Well, I was there the day my dad was killed by the Jedi. It was absolutely horrifying seeing my dad's head go flying off from a purple lightsaber, and I'm sitting there holding my dad's head in my hands, and I've plotted revenge. And I've been on all kinds of adventures trying to get back at the Jedi who did this to me and correct my life. But after a while, I finally found my calling, and I was just gonna be a universally feared bounty hunter, a guy who could take the helm of my dad and, and just really run rampant across the galaxy and make a lot of money. And I made a lot of money. I did. I made a lot of money going after people. But then one day, I'm hanging out at the Jabba's palace after, bringing him Han Solo, who, look, Han Solo wasn't that bad of a guy, and he definitely didn't deserve to get what he got from his son all those years later, let me tell you. But that day, it was supposed to go off without a hitch. We were going to dump these people into the Sarlacc pit, bada bing, bada boom. I would move on, get another paycheck, maybe polish up my helmet, new Beskar steel, and I was going to have a great day. I didn't know that when that kid came in with the laser sword, that it was going to trigger me to go completely and stop thinking with my head. And instead, I went off on a rage like no other. That I completely forgot about the stupid guy Han Solo and his Wookiee behind me. Next thing I know, I'm flying into the side of Jabba's palace, smacking it down his little barge, and I slid down and fell into the gut of the Sarlacc. It was not my proudest moment. Mistakes were made. But I prevailed. After I was in that stomach, I could have sat there and let it digest me slowly for 1,000 years. But if you guys know anything about me, you know I come prepared for lots of situations. And so I blasted my way out of that thing, and I gave it a good old case of heart. I don't know if it's actually dead or not. Those things are huge under there. You'd think it was like practically a city of like this thing is so big. But after I got out of there, I realized, man, what am I doing with my life? Job is gone. I could see the writing on the wall for the Empire. Pretty soon, there might not even be jobs for bounty hunters anymore. So I decided to just book it. I loaded up everything I could into Slave 1, fueled that sucker up, and pointed it as far away from this galaxy that I was in to go somewhere else, new pastures, maybe find some new bounties, maybe just find a nice little plot of land, you know. Who knows? I was ready for a change in my life. But unfortunately, I found this place called Earth. I say unfortunately because as soon as I got here, some guy named Trump shot me right out of the sky, screaming, "Space Force! Space Force!" Now, I was able to put my cloaking on before I crashed, and I landed here in this place. This guy's backyard. This guy, Rob, who came running out, and he couldn't believe it. He thought he was having an acid flashback. But I assured him he wasn't. So, I was going to disintegrate him, but my weapons had been tossed from the ship along with most of my belongings, and my armor was smashed up beyond any normal repair. Fortunately, because you guys all love me so much, finding a child-sized costume on this thing called the internet was really easy to find. But it's not Beskar steel, let me tell you. This thing's like mylar and it itches like crazy. But I have to keep up appearances, otherwise I'm not the Fett-Man. And I have to be the Fett-Man. It's the one thing that I took with me when I left the galaxy was, don't forget who you are. You're the Fett-Man. And someday you'll get yourself back. But now I'm stuck here with this person whom society has deemed to dub him nerd. An insult from what I understand, but he seems to wear that insult like a badge of honor. And I respected that. So while I wait to figure out my next move, Rob introduced me to the mockumentaries you call Star Wars, and I watched it all. Sometimes with nostalgia, for better times. Sometimes with absolute horror. The hatchet job Lucas did to the events we allowed him to learn about. But that's a story for another day. Or another video, really. I eventually got to this new mockumentary called The Mandalorian, and I have been watching this on a loop, eagerly awaiting Season 2. So when Rob told me that it was coming in the time period you call October, I talked him into letting me do the reviews for a change, to give my unique perspective on all this Mandalorian hysteria you all are caught up in. And so without further ado, let's talk about The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1, or Chapter 9 if you want to be a dick about it. So Chapter 9 is called The Marshal. And well, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. So the galaxy really does think I'm dead. At the bottom of that Sarlacc pit at the end of your mockumentary Return of the Jedi, apparently, everybody's just giving up on the old Fett-Man, and I guess that's fine. It means that nobody's looking for me. It means that I can live in a little bit of anonymity. And who was that guy at the end of the episode? I guess we're supposed to think that it is me. And so now I have to sit here and watch the events of my life play out fictionally. And that's really weird. It's very meta. I mean, this is already pretty meta. But it's like being at your own funeral. So, it's kind of interesting to be able to sit and watch from the background. So, what did I think so far, though, of the very first chapter of Season 2? Well, it seems like the old ways are still the good days. I mean, I've seen all the mockumentaries, and it seems like you guys can never get away from Tattooine. I mean, pick another desert planet. There's like 1,000,000 desert planets out there, but we always keep going back to Tattooine. But I think Tattooine was just, again, to tease everybody that we're going to get Boba Fett. And well, you kind of do. In the form of Timothy Olyphant's character. And his name was Cobb. And he was done really well. I think that Timothy Olyphant's a really great actor. I really like him in Justified, going all the way back to Scream 2. And the zombie show, Santa Clarita Diet, that I also binge watched while I've been sitting here in this bunker of a house. So I thought he was a really good, interesting choice of character to put in here as well. Because he's the one who has the Boba Fett armor. And I mean, come on. As soon as I saw that, I just about crapped my pants. Because holy crap, does my armor still look pretty good in shape. But, of course, that's not what really happened. You guys know what really happened. So now I have to sit here and just kind of watch. But anyway, we kind of have this whole save the town from itself kind of thing, where everybody there has been pretty wiped out by Tusken Raiders and bandits, and now they've got a Krayt dragon. And let me tell you something, everybody. Those things you do not want to mess with. And so I got to give it up to Mando for even thinking he could do this. And that's what I like about this guy. I mean, he's kind of an evolved version of me. I mean, I'm at this crossroads in my own life where I'm like kind of taking a look at what I'm doing. And I like that the Mandalorian is actually on his own kind of journey instead of just following the same old patterns. Now taking care of Baby Yoda, which even I have to admit is pretty adorable. The old me probably would have threw that thing out of an airlock a long time ago. But the new me is kind of softening up to these kind of things. And besides, they're mockumentaries. So how bad do I need to really, take all this stuff? I also think that this episode was paced really interestingly as well. And it's kind of interesting that we didn't just dive right into the lore. We start small, right? It's just find a Mandalorian. Find some Mandalorians so that we can get back to get this kid to where we need to go. We're not trying to, throw everything at you. We kind of do a big story and a small story at the same time. Where we know that there's this bigger, overreaching storyline that we're getting to. But we kind of do what we did in episodes 4, 5, and 6 of the first season. Where we kind of solve a little bit of a problem to get to where we need to go for the next bit. And I think that that's just a nice change of pace. Usually, Star Wars has been these big epic, trilogies. The prequels, the OG trilogy, whatever the hell was going on in the last few years. But I really do like that they're kind of taking it small, taking it slow, and then 8 episodes, could we have used more? Sure. 8 weeks is not a long time, actually, in COVID land, but here we are. And so I do think that this is an interesting story to tell, and I think we had some really, really great characters as well, like this Gor Koresh character. Of course he was going to turn his, double-cross you, man. This guy is fighting Gamorrean guards, for God's sake. He has no scruples at all. As soon as he walked in there, I was like, get out of there. You're like the only guy walking around with Beskar steel, and you have, no backup. Just a baby that can move things with his mind. But I really did enjoy the fight, though. In fact, I really want that Beskar armor for myself, to be quite honest with you. And I thought that the fight choreography was really great in this scene. I also really like that he still kind of has his code. When he tells him, you're not going to die by my hand. And I was already thinking, there's about 1,000,000 different ways we could take this out, like Batman style, where we don't have to kill you, but we don't have to save you either. And so I really liked it when he shot the lights out and those red-eyed monster dog things came out of the woodwork. I mean, it was definitely some foreshadowing there in the beginning when we saw all those red eyes. I also really liked all the graffiti, too. Seeing a little 3PO droid mixed in with all the other stuff. All the little kind of nuggets that they give you is really nice. But before he got killed, Gor Koresh told us to go to Tattooine, where he said that's where the Mandalorian that he knows about is. And when we get back there, well, we have the return of Amy Sedaris' Peli Motto. Now, I know some people really liked her in the first season. I thought it was okay. I'm a kind of a hit or miss on an Amy Sedaris character. She's great in some things, but not so great in other things, in my opinion. Here, she's fine. It's a nice return to form. And I mean, I also have to remember that a lot of this stuff is geared towards kids. And so, not everything's going to be, a kind of adult way of looking at things. This felt like very kiddish with the little droids and everything like that. But she's still, a nice character, even though her makeup just kind of puts me off. But this whole thing leads us to this place called, what's the name of the town? Mos Pelgo, that's right. Mos Pelgo, place I don't even know about. Well, apparently, after the Empire fell, nature abhors a vacuum, and the mining corporations just moved right in and wiped out practically half the town and took over until Timothy Olyphant's Cobb was able to trade some silica. What's that? What kind of crystals were those? Well, I don't know. He traded some That's what's weird. It's kind of hard to read these. Rob told me to take notes. Well, it's kind of hard to read notes in this helmet. So, anyway, Cobb is wandering the desert and gets saved by some Jawas where he finds my armor. And I have to say, they did a pretty good job recreating my armor. I also really thought it was cool seeing it on Timothy Olyphant, even though it didn't really fit him well. That's because he's not a real Mandalorian. So, he gets the Mandalorian armor. He uses it really well to protect the town for a while. But between bandits and Tusken Raiders, things are really desperate, and this Krayt dragon makes things even extra difficult for the rest of the town. So when Mando walks in, and we have this kind of, standoff with each other until the Krayt dragon shows up, I thought that was a pretty interesting thing, even though I kind of wanted to see these two go down at it and just down in the dirt and fight. But that's not what this episode's about. In the end, this episode's about working together for a common goal, realizing that we're not all that different, even though we might have different, kind of backgrounds, talking about like the Tusken Raiders versus the people in the town. The Tusken Raiders are brutal people, but they have to be to live where they have. And the people that live in the town, well, honestly, they're just a bunch of snowflakes who probably should just go back to regular civilization. Go somewhere on Coruscant, for God's sake. I mean, why would you want to live out here? But I digress. But Mando, he's able to barter a truce between the Tusken Raiders and the town to make sure that they can take out this Krayt dragon forever, and as long as nobody breaks the peace, nobody will attack the town again. And so, that's just basically a matter of time before one of these whiteys come over there and blast a Tusken Raider on accident. But for now, everything will be fine as long as they work together. And I really like this scene where they try to trap this Krayt dragon. I thought this was a really great epic moment. We finally get to see what one of those things looked like from A New Hope. The big long skeleton at the top of the ridge where C-3PO and R2-D2 were walking. I'd only seen a Krayt dragon in pictures before, and it was really horrifying to see what they thought one would look like. And that's probably a little more accurate than some of the animated versions that they've shown of Krayt dragons in the past that make them kind of just look like big dragon dogs. But this thing's more like a sandworm, and it was creepy as heck, and it had its acidic saliva to boot. That just came out of nowhere. So it makes it even more freaky. That this thing's basically impenetrable, can shoot acid at you, can come at you like one of those tremor monsters, and, just nowhere is safe. Also, I don't think it likes banthas. I think it just likes eating people. But I really like this scene, the whole town working together, and then you get to see the Mandalorians shooting around in the backpacks. Man, it took me back to those days. Man, I really wish my backpack was working right now so I could just shoot up in the air and fly out of here. But, what are we going to do? I'm stuck here. But in the end, Mando pulls kind of an old trick, which always kind of reminded me and triggered me a little bit of falling into the Sarlacc pit and what I had to do to get out. Which was he takes the bombs that are on a bantha, lets himself get eaten, and then shocks the thing from the inside and blows it up. That was epic. There was also a really interesting shot where Timothy Olyphant gets that close-up pan when he sees the thing coming at him. It made me think of Roy Scheider in Jaws. But in the end, Mando's victorious, and there's a whole lot of meat to be harvested. That was actually a pretty gross scene, seeing everybody diving into the carcass of this thing. Also, was that a Krayt egg that they were holding up? Does that mean the Tusken Raiders might actually have a Krayt dragon to raise? That could make them dangerous down the road. But, true to his word, Cobb gives the Mandalorian the armor back, making sure that he understands that he's not the one who broke it. And as they leave, we see a man in the distance with a scar and a very sour look on his face. Now that does look like me, but then, like I said, I'm a clone. We all look like the same guy. So there's probably a few of us running around. But I do think they really want us to think that this is Boba Fett, me, the Fett-Man. But it's interesting, like I said, to watch this all play out, kind of like watching my own funeral, the things that are happening when they all think you're dead. But it's kind of fun to, at the same time, to see what everybody thinks of me now that I'm gone. And so I would say I give this episode a 4 out of 5 Death Star explosions. Pretty great start. Not epically great, but a really great return to form. So, anyway, as Rob keeps telling me, I'm supposed to kind of promote these. So, if you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. Otherwise, we will be back next week. And don't forget, on Sunday this week, you're going to see the Fett-Man on another show over on D's Reviews, where we're doing the Mandalorians. Now, I don't know how much I'm going to be in that, or if it's going to be just Rob, or if, because he would like to talk about this too. But we'll find out. And that's going to be Sunday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Otherwise, you can see him on the Mandalorians on Saturdays. So, thanks for watching, everybody. This is really weird. I hope it's not too bracing for everybody. Maybe it's a little cringy. I don't know. But here we go. This is the way it's going to be. This is the way. Have a great day.